In this demo, we'll be showing cloud and container-based CI/CD with appLariat and Travis CI. With appLariat, continuous delivery of applications to hybrid cloud is easy. We abstract the complexity of container technology, providing application discovery and automated containerization, as well as deployment and management of the Kubernetes orchestrator on hybrid cloud. appLariat provides the integration layer for development, DevOps, and operations tools and processes, and automates continuous delivery and deployment of applications throughout your development lifecycle. appLariat's policy engine ensures enterprise governance and controls your environment so hybrid cloud infrastructure costs are minimized. One thing to note before we get started. While we will be demonstrating a very simple app during our demo, appLariat is capable of containerizing, deploying, and scaling very large and complex apps. What you see here is a test deployment of the appLariat continuous delivery platform running in Kubernetes on Google Container Engine. We used appLariat to containerize our application, and it is the continuous deployment platform our team uses. Yes, at appLariat, we are dependent on our platform to develop, test, and release our own product. Okay, let's get started. On the left, you see our developer's view from their Eclipse IDE, and on the right, you see appLariat. We're only showing the appLariat view so you can see the tasks being automated by the developer through our Eclipse plugin. We'll be working with an air travel application from our fictitious company, Acme Air. Let's take a look at our application. As you can see, it's a simple application composed of a Mongo database and Node.js. Let's take a look at our deployment dashboard. As you can see, there are currently no deployments. Now our developer will create his Sandbox deployment so he can change and test it in isolation. He selects Configure from the appLariat plugin menu in Eclipse, and the configuration dialog pops up. He can select a release, the artifact he'll be changing, where he'd like to deploy the app, and the location of his code, in this case, GitHub. He fills out his repository information and clicks OK. appLariat then tells him his deployment is in progress. He can find it later from the app URL menu item. Let's take a look at what the developer triggered from his IDE in the appLariat deployment dashboard. We can see the developer's Sandbox deployment is in progress, named by the branch he was working on. Let's go to the deployment detail page to see the deployment progress. Okay, the app is now deployed and running. At any time, the developer can check if the deployment is done by selecting the app URL menu item. The developer can now click the link to get to the Sandbox deployment running in Google Container Engine on Kubernetes. And there's his running application. So our developer was able to get a Sandbox deployment running with his local changes quickly and easily without ever leaving his IDE. Note as well that his development workload is governed by appLariat's lease termination policy, so he doesn't have to worry about cleaning up his deployments. appLariat removes expired deployments and scales your Kubernetes cluster so you only pay for the cloud resources you are actually using. All right, our developer has been tasked with making a change to the company tagline displayed on the main page of the application. So let's make that change. The developer saves his change and then, using Eclipse GitHub integration, stages his change, provides a commit message, and then commits and pushes the change to his origin branch, which creates a new Node.js artifact. Now our developer updates his Sandbox deployment in place by selecting the Deploy App menu item in the appLariat menu. He clicks OK in the pop-up menu and is notified that the update to his deployment Sandbox is in progress. Turning our attention to the right side of the screen, we can see that the developer's action in Eclipse has triggered an update to his Sandbox deployment. appLariat notifies the developer that his update is complete, and he can click the link to see his changes. And we can see the shortened company tagline. At appLariat, we're all about developer choice, and while we have plugins for a variety of IDEs, we know some developers prefer to work from the command line when interacting with other tools. We've created a full-featured CLI for just this reason. Developers can download and learn about the CLI in the appLariat knowledge base. Once the CLI is installed, we also provide scripts that can be used to create Sandbox deployments and update them in place with developer changes, as this developer is doing from a command line within the WebStorm IDE. He can override artifacts with local changes he makes, and appLariat provides feedback on deployment status. Okay, the developer's command line initiated deployment is now complete, and he can get the URL in the feedback provided by the CLI. He can then type in the URL in his browser and get to the application he deployed with his local changes. The CLI not only provides easy Sandbox deployments for developers, it also provides the integration point for continuous integration tools like Travis CI, Circle CI, Jenkins, and more. We provide example scripts for integration with continuous integration tools that allow DevOps and QA engineers to create QA deployments based on GitHub commits and release candidates and staging deployments based on GitHub tagging. In fact, I'll be demonstrating them in action momentarily. While your CI/CD approach may be different than what you see in this demo, these example scripts make it easy to understand how to integrate appLariat continuous delivery into your continuous integration tools and processes. With appLariat, there is no need for endless chef or puppet script writing and modification, allowing your DevOps team to focus on more productive activities. Let's get back to our scenario. Now our developer wants to make his change available for QA integration testing. To do that, he creates a pull request in GitHub. Typically, a DevOps or QA engineer would then select pull requests to merge to a specific branch and trigger a continuous integration tool like Travis CI or Jenkins to call build and deployment scripts. To save time, we're allowing the developer to merge his changes, and that will trigger Travis CI to call appLariat to build any images and deploy a sandbox the QA team can use for testing. We merged our changes to the develop branch, and we can see that Travis CI has been integrated to call appLariat to create our QA deployment with the commit we just merged. Now let's take a look at appLariat's deployment dashboard to see the results. We can now see that the QA deployment is in progress. Let's take a look at the details. And our deployment is complete and running, and the app is available for QA testing. And there's our shorter tagline. Okay, our QA engineers are satisfied with all the changes merged in our last step. In our scenario, this change needs to go to production, but first we need to create a release candidate and staging deployment so that final testing can be done before the production environment is updated. To do this, a DevOps engineer tags the commit we merged into GitHub. Travis CI will see the tag and notice that it begins with RC for release candidate. It will then call appLariat to create a release candidate and deploy it to a staging environment for final testing before updating production. We can see Travis is now going to call appLariat. And we see that the staging deployment has been initiated. So let's take a look at the details. All right, our staging deployment is complete and running. and we can see our change to the tagline. All right, now let's take a look and see if a release was actually created that we deployed from. And there it is. We can see a new release candidate has been created, and that completes our scenario. So now you've seen a complete 3-stage dev test cycle with the appLariat continuous delivery platform and Travis CI. Our developer and DevOps engineer were able to work as they had before using appLariat, but with the added benefit of easy hybrid cloud-based continuous deployment. Now, of course, the only reason this is possible is because of appLariat's abstraction of the complexity of containers in Kubernetes. Because discovery and conversion of an existing application to containers in Kubernetes is trivial using appLariat, hybrid cloud-based continuous deployment and delivery is a reality for any organization. There are many additional benefits to moving to containers, for example, automated application scale up, scale down, and other cloud-native capabilities. Stay tuned for our next video where we'll show the operations team moving an application change into production using both canary and blue-green deployment methodologies.